Imagine walking into a silent gallery late at night, the air heavy and still, when suddenly your eyes fall upon a figure crouched in the dark. His body is thin, almost wasted, his long fingers sink into the bloody remains of his own child, and his mouth is frozen mid-bite. His eyes bulge with madness, terror, and desperation, staring not only at the corpse he devours but straight into you. The shock is immediate, visceral. You cannot look away. The image claws into your mind like a nightmare that refuses to end. This is not simply a work of art. This is a vision that grips the human soul itself. This is Francisco Goya's Saturn devouring his son. Painted sometime between 1819 and 1823, Saturn now hangs in Madrid's Prado Museum. Yet when it was first created, it was never meant for public view. Francisco Goya, once the celebrated court painter of kings and aristocrats, was by then an old man plagued by illness and deafness, nearly blind in one eye, consumed by paranoia, and exhausted by decades of war and political upheaval. He had seen Spain torn apart by Napoleon's armies, he had witnessed the violence of the Inquisition, and he had outlived many friends and allies who were executed, exiled, or silenced. He retreated into his isolated villa, the Quinta del Sordo, the house of the deaf man, and there in solitude he began to cover the walls with images that no patron had commissioned and no audience was ever supposed to see. 14 grotesque murals emerged, now known as the Black Paintings. Among witches, demons, and twisted faces, one figure stood out more than any other: Saturn, crouching in the void, devouring his son. The myth itself is ancient. Saturn, or Cronus in Greek mythology, was told of a prophecy. One day one of his children would rise up to overthrow him. Terrified of losing his power, he devoured them one by one. Yet his wife deceived him, saving their youngest child, Jupiter Zeus, who would grow strong, confront his father, and bring about his downfall. Many artists had painted this myth before Goya. Rubens painted Saturn as a powerful titan, full of grandeur even in violence, a god still majestic. Guido Reni depicted him in shadow, a tragic, solemn figure. But when Goya turned to the subject, all nobility vanished. His Saturn is no god. He is a shriveled, hairy, grotesque creature, crouched in darkness. His body is not muscular but wasted. His hands claw into the limp corpse of his child, a body already mutilated and headless. His mouth is open, gnashing not with triumph, but with a madness that seems barely controlled. His eyes are wide with desperation, not victory. The background is not a cosmic stage or a mythological setting, but pure void. Blackness swallows everything around him. Goya's Saturn is not an ancient myth. He is a vision of horror. Why would Goya paint such a thing? Scholars have argued for 2 centuries. Some believe it was political allegory. Spain, torn by war, corruption, and fanaticism, had become Saturn itself, devouring its own children in endless cycles of repression and bloodshed. The image becomes a warning of a nation that consumes its future in order to preserve a broken present. Others believe it was personal. By this time, Goya was nearly 75, frail, alone, and haunted by death. He had seen the loss of friends, the fading of his career, and the collapse of his health. Perhaps he saw in Saturn's eyes his own reflection, the terror of a man consumed by time, gnawed away by fear, staring into the abyss. And then there is the most unsettling fact. Goya himself never titled the painting. The name Saturn devouring his son was added decades later. For all we know, this creature might not be Saturn at all. Perhaps it was a demon. Perhaps it was a portrait of Spain. Perhaps it was a portrait of Goya himself. The ambiguity only makes the painting more haunting. It leaves us staring into those bulging eyes, unsure if we are seeing mythology, confession, or prophecy. Accounts of the painting's effect are unsettling in their own right. Visitors to the Prado Museum often describe nausea, dizziness, or sudden waves of dread when standing before it. Some claim the eyes seem to follow them across the room. A tourist once fainted directly in front of it, later insisting she saw the figure move. Guards tell of low growls echoing through the gallery at night, though no one is there. Rational explanations abound: psychological suggestion, the sheer intensity of the imagery, but still, the stories persist. Even reproductions have their legends. A student in Madrid claimed weeks of nightmares after studying the painting, dreams of being devoured in the dark, until he destroyed every photo he owned. Online forums warn against hanging copies in your home, claiming it brings bad luck, whispers in the night, or moving shadows. One art restorer admitted to hearing the faint sobs of a child while working near the canvas, sounds no one else could hear. Whether imagination or something more, the reputation clings to the painting like a shadow. The eeriest detail of all is where Goya placed it. The mural originally adorned the walls of his dining room. Imagine sitting down to eat beneath that gaze, lifting food to your lips while Saturn tore eternally at the flesh of his child behind you. Was it a warning to guests? A ritual for himself? Or simply the reflection of a man who could no longer escape his own nightmares? After Goya's death, the house was sold, and for decades the murals remained hidden. It was only in the late 19th century, when restorers transferred them onto canvas, that the world saw them for the first time. From that moment, Saturn became one of the most infamous images in Western art, its legend spreading far beyond Spain. To truly understand why this painting unsettles us so deeply, look closely. The child's body is limp, mutilated, little more than meat. Saturn's fingers press desperately into the flesh. His mouth is not the calm mouth of a god, but the frenzied mouth of an addict who cannot stop. His eyes are wide, staring in panic as if aware of the horror he is committing, yet powerless to stop himself. There is no context, no mythology, no justification, only darkness. That is what separates Goya's vision from every artist before him. He tore away the shield of myth and showed us raw, unfiltered horror. Over the years, stories of the painting's curse have multiplied. Some say if you stare into Saturn's eyes long enough, you will see them twitch. Others say the image lingers in dreams, following you long after you leave the gallery. A Madrid gallery once hung a large reproduction, only to remove it after a series of bizarre accidents. Among the staff injuries, electrical faults, alarms triggered without cause. Coincidence? Or something darker? Whether one believes in curses or not, the aura around Saturn is undeniable. Feels alive. Feels dangerous. But perhaps the most terrifying part is this: Saturn is not only a myth, he is a symbol of something universal. He is time itself, devouring all living things. He is fathers destroying sons, nations destroying their own people, fear consuming love, survival consuming the future. He is the hunger that eats us from within, the inevitability of decay. Goya may have painted Saturn, but in truth he painted us. That is why the painting feels cursed, because it is a mirror. We see in Saturn not a monster of myth, but the truth of what we fear most about ourselves. So what was Goya really saying when he painted this monstrous figure on his dining room wall? Was it a myth illustrated in despair, or a confession of his own terror? Was it a reflection of Spain tearing itself apart, or of humanity's endless cycle of violence and destruction? Was Saturn a god, a beast, a demon, or simply Goya himself staring into the abyss? We cannot know. And yet, 2 centuries later, the image still grips us. It still makes us shudder. It still leaves us asking questions we may never answer. Is the painting cursed? Is it haunted? Or is it simply too true, too honest, too raw for us to face without fear? Look again at those bulging eyes, that gnashing mouth, that eternal darkness. Do you see Saturn devouring his son? Or do you see something far more familiar staring back at you?